Did you shoot a .300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime.
Well, we all remember that case. The South Carolina Supreme Court will now hear arguments on February 11th in convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh's appeal. It's a high-profile case that continues to draw national attention. The former attorney is now seeking to overturn his double murder conviction of his wife and his son, challenging key aspects of the trial that led to his life sentence. For more, let's bring in now Alex Murdaugh's defense attorney, Dick Harpootlian. He is the author of Dig Me a Grave, the inside story of the serial killer who seduced the South. Dick, good to have you on the program and in studio. Good to see you in person.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, this appeal is coming up real fast, so I want you to make the case for our audience. Why do you think Alex Murdaugh deserves a second trial?
Well, there were two appeals from his trial. One was the underlying trial, whether certain evidence should have been excluded or allowed in, the sort of the normal technical issues you deal with. But this case has something I've never seen before, and I don't think anybody's ever seen it before, where the elected clerk of court, the clerk of court who swore the jurors in, who shepherded them through the courthouse, in and out of the courthouse every day for 6 weeks, has been accused of tampering with the jury in an effort to influence them to return a guilty verdict. She, under oath, denied that, but she recently pled guilty to perjury during that proceeding.
It was amazing when all that came out. But I think the question on a lot of people's minds would be, what would be different about this? And here's why I bring this up, because a couple of times Alex admitted in court and to investigators that he had been lying. And here's one moment where he talks about the tangled web we weave. He talked about. Listen here.
Did you continue lying after that night? Did you not?
But once I lied, I continued to lie. Yes, sir.
Why?
You know, oh, what a tangled web we weave. But once I told a lie, I told my family, I had to keep lying.
I mean, he lied not just about the last time he saw Maggie and Paul. He also lied about being at the kennels the night of the murders, and he admitted that he would get caught up in this web. So what would be different about this, Dick?
Well, we spent 2.5 weeks in the first trial dealing with the financial crimes, which, by the way, he never denied, and he's pled guilty to. The state's position was the motive to kill Maggie and Paul was to distract attention away from these financial crimes. Their murders would put a hold on any investigation. It's the thinnest of motives I've ever heard of. No question he lied about being down at the kennels that night, but there's no fingerprints, there's no DNA, there's no witnesses, there's no confession. Matter of fact, all the facts, the certifiable facts, are inconsistent with his guilt. Whoever shot Paul, their expert and our expert testified, Paul was killed by a contact wound of a shotgun to his head, literally blew his head apart. Whoever did that would have been covered head to foot in blood and brains. And yet 45 minutes after they say that happened, he's knocking on the door of his mother's house 10 miles away to visit her, pristine, no blood, bloody clothes, anything at the house, or the forensic team scoured the scene in the house.
Has he told you who he thinks did it?
If he did, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're a good lawyer. I do want to ask you about Buster. You know, Fox News interviewed him a couple years ago, and I'm wondering if you've recently spoken to him and asked him what he wants.
Well, I mean, I think he's gotten married. He married Brooklyn, who sat through the entire trial with him. He's doing well. I don't think he wants media attention. I think he wants to go about his life.
Yeah.
And he talks to his father frequently. They have a great relationship. I think he believes his father's innocent and is supporting our effort to get him a new trial.
Let's talk about this book that's out. It's about the notorious South Carolina serial killer, Pee Wee Gaskin. Serial killer back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and went on and on and on. So many different people, victims of this man. You say that this case haunts you.
Well, He was convicted of 14 murders. I prosecuted him for the last one. After he'd gotten life sentences years before I was even a lawyer, he's serving 13 life sentences and arranges with the victim of a guy who's sentenced to death on death row to kill the guy on death row. And so he smuggles in a quarter pound of plastics explosives in a blasting cap and blew the guy's head off. Wow. I mean, it was an assassination of a guy on death row, the most secure wing of the most secure facility in the state. And that I prosecuted and got him the death penalty for, and he was ultimately electrocuted in our electric chair. 2 weeks before his execution, he tried to have his son kidnap my 4-year-old daughter and hold her hostage.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he was evil incarnate. And I think the book explains how he and I developed a relationship, which is really, when you look back on it, and I look back on it, weird. And it's a debate about the death penalty. I was a child of the 60s, so, I wasn't pro-death penalty until I began seeing the dead bodies and talking to the victims, and it converted me. And Pee Wee, if not Pee Wee, murder number 14, then who?
Exactly. All right, we'll see how this appeal goes. We'll watch and follow the events. Dick, thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.